has the caliber of MEC play this year and tournament experience done to prepare your team for the NCAA tournament?
Hopefully it has prepared us pretty well. I mean, you look at the strength of our conference, getting 4 teams in the NCAA tournament. West Liberty, Charleston, ourselves, and West Virginia State. That to go through that gauntlet in our non-conference, I thought was pretty tough as well, and win 22 games. Hopefully that prepares us for a very familiar opponent in Charleston on Friday night.
How about Charleston in particular? 2 games this year. They kind of bridged a run between the first half and the second half here, and won by 7-8 points. You guys had a lead with about 10-12 minutes left to go, and they ripped off there with the run. What can you take away from both those matchups?
Well, the first one was so long ago. I mean, it was back before Thanksgiving, and that seems like it was 5 years ago instead of a few months ago. But our most recent one was on January 24th up at Charleston. I thought we played really, really well. Like I said, obviously they're the Mountain East champs. They don't beat themselves. Dwayne Osborne does a phenomenal job. Very, very well deserving of Coach of the Year in the MEC. Number 3 seed here in the NCAA tournament. So we're gonna have our hands full. We've just got to make sure we prepare like we always do and go out and play a full 40 minutes. But we'll be able to go back and dissect some things hopefully from those 2 games and see where we need to fix some issues that we may have had there and give them our best shot.
Give me a little recap of how Concord has done, and when's the last time that you went to the NCAAs?
So the last time we went was in 2016 when I was the assistant, coming off an MEC championship. We had beat West Liberty in the semifinals, and then had to play them again in the first round of the NCAA tournament. We were fortunate enough to beat them twice that year, which they got us in the NCAA tournament. So, I was trying to think back to my experience of 8 years ago, and it was such a, not a long time, but just you get going with so much going on and just the things you have to do. And as an assistant, probably my role was a little bit bigger back then as far as game preparation and getting things ready. Whereas now as a head coach, it's more administrative. Like I've had to do buses and meals and itineraries and all that sort of stuff. So I think I finally have all that taken care of. We had our meeting this morning there, and I got one more administrative thing to do here after we finish up, and then I can finally get into the basketball side of it. So, but it's a great experience for our guys, and that's why I told them yesterday when we met. This doesn't happen all the time, and it's been 8 years here. It's been since 1954 since we got an large bid in any type of tournament. So our guys are making history, and to really, really enjoy this experience and enjoy this week, because I hope it's not a once in a lifetime thing for them, but it may be. So make sure they enjoy it.
Coach, is there one matchup when you look at this Charleston team? Is there one matchup that you kind of circle that maybe you guys can take advantage of, or how do you kind of see that playing out?
Not really. I mean, they're really, really well balanced. They're only playing about 8 guys, but you look at their starting 5 with Dwayne Jones was really, really good in the tournament. He ended up making
MVP. He was the MVP.
He ended up being the MVP of the tournament there, so he had a really good 3 days. De'Aaron Barker can score at a high level. Shunta Jones, Shunta Wilson, just really, really active, makes plays, makes winning plays for them. And then their inside guys, Eddie Colbert, Player of the Year, and Tyler Everhart is a mismatch for us, just as how skilled he is. And then you look at their bench guys, they all fit their roles and do really well. So can't say there's one thing we'll be able to take advantage of. It's going to have to be a team deal. But yeah, they're really, really well coached, and like I said, only being 8 deep, that may be the only thing that we have on them is where we go about 9-10 deep with our guys.
And then on the flip side of that, you throw out the Glenville game from a week and a half ago, but you guys are playing some of your best basketball. What's been the secret there?
Like I said, this guy's continuing to develop and work. Like I said, it's a marathon when you go from August to March now. And I felt like, our guys have continually gotten better as we progress through the season. Just continuing that grind, and like I said, it's been a good ride. I've really enjoyed this team and being around the guys, and wins or losses they are what they are, and then 10, 15 years they won't remember those, but hopefully they remember the experiences and the trips and the meals and different things that we've done there. They've been a really good, fun group to be around, and hopefully we can keep it rolling this weekend a little bit.
Coach, how do you approach the timeline of getting ready for a tournament game as opposed to playing 2 or 3 games a week in the regular season?
It's definitely different. We'll kind of do what we did last week, where we didn't play till Friday in the MEC tournament. We don't play till Friday. It's a little bit, obviously we played at noon last week, we played at 7:30 this time, so we'll adjust our schedule a little bit, but it'll be very similar to what we did. Like I said, we continued our routine with skill and lift yesterday. We'll have a full practice today. Tomorrow will be a little bit of live stuff when we go up to West Virginia. But obviously we're hoping we end up playing 3 games in 5 days, so we've got to be a little bit smart with that. But we'll just continue to do what we do. I've talked to a couple different coaches about their approaches on things and how they do things, and tried to pick their brains a little bit, because obviously this is a new experience for myself and our guys. So I'll take a little bit from that and try to apply it, but we'll probably just stick to what we do and how we do things.
You had talked a few minutes ago about the experience as an assistant coach back in 2016. Tell me about your assistant coaches this year, and how instrumental have they been to the success of this team?
First off, you have Coach Howard, Trent Howard. Trent came here 5 years ago, was a GA at Akron. I put a lot on his shoulders. He does all of our skill work. He does the weight room. Hopefully I'm trying to prepare him for some future head coaching position. But he's in charge of our defense as well, and does a phenomenal job with scouting and preparation for our guys to make sure that they are put in the best positions on the defensive end on a nightly basis. That with him allowing and doing all that, it allows me to kind of focus on the offensive side. So that's been very beneficial. But Trent just does a phenomenal job, and I'm very lucky to have him. And then new to the staff this year was Gentry Shrewsbury, who's a former player here. Gentry, when I first got here in 2012 as the assistant, that senior class was him, Damian Tunstall, and Eric Bailey. And I didn't get here until after Labor Day. So, they'd been in school probably about a month or so. And those guys could have made it very difficult on me, and they did not. They were awesome to be around, and it made my transition, being a new person to the program, them and Kent, made my transition very easy. And when Gentry told me that he was going to come back and be a professor here on campus, I asked him if he wanted to help out, and he's been very beneficial. Well, it just gives me another set of eyes and ears to see and hear things. He had to take a little bit of a bigger role than I think he even anticipated, or I even anticipated in the fall when Coach Howard's son was born premature. Gentry stepped in, was able to fill the void with our skill and some of the things we did in practice, because Trent was gone for almost a month with dealing with that. Archie's doing really well, and Destiny and everybody's great. But Gentry got kind of thrown to the fire more so than I think he even anticipated. But I'm very fortunate to have both those guys. Gentry from a player perspective of having played the game and seeing things, and then Trent just with how good he is in every facet of everything that we do within our program. So really appreciate those guys, and we're not able to have this opportunity if it's not for those 2 guys, for sure.
Coach, you talk about your coaches, but you have coaches on the floor. Your senior class has just been phenomenal leaders, from Jordan being a player in this program for 4 years, Javon being a 5th-year senior. How have those guys kind of helped this success?
Yeah, once we finished with our season last year in March, that process starts with our seniors. I felt like I've done a better job at that the last couple of years of hoping to prepare those guys to be leaders. Todd had some discussions and some talks with those, not only those two, but J.J. Harper in the spring as well of last year about, now their increased role as a leader on this team and in this program. And sent those guys home with some John Gordon books. I don't know if anybody's into John Gordon, but very, very good motivational guy, and just talks a lot about leadership and there's different avenues of doing leadership. I mean, you have your guys that are very vocal and outspoken and lead by, those type of things, and you have guys that are more, quiet and just kind of lead by examples there. So tried to kind of find those guys as an niche and give them those books over the summer. And, anything, this is probably, I don't know if this is adjusting to the times or how you want to say it, but our guys are always on their phones. So like I am constantly flooding them with reels and videos and Instagram and things on Twitter. Anything that comes across with leadership, I'm sending it to them. I figure if they're going to be on there, they better be seeing stuff that I want them to see. So, those guys probably get tired of it, and here comes another thing from Coach about leadership. But those guys have done a phenomenal job in taking that role, and it's not always easy for 18 to 22-year-olds. When, maybe as a senior in high school, they had to fill that role, but now, starting college, like I said, then you get to be a senior again. And last year, DR and Ethan Heller really did a good job with our leadership roles there, and those guys kind of learn from them. So it's just kind of a process as you go through programs and teams of guys developing there. But yeah, those guys have, I put, same as with Trent, I put a lot on their shoulders. I mean, they make decisions on team meals, travel times, shoot around, like all that stuff that goes into it, jersey color, that it's their team. Like they decide to make those decisions. So hopefully that's preparing them for when they finish up here and move on into life, that they'll be great leaders in whatever they decide to do. Because at the end of the day, it's a little bit bigger than basketball. I was really, really impacted by Tesla's talk after their game the other night, just about, yes, it's basketball, and yes, we're trying to win games, and yes, we're trying to have the opportunity that we have on Friday to go to the NCAA tournament, but it's bigger than that. It's helping to develop these young people so that when they leave us, they can go out in society and be productive members of it. And hopefully I'm doing my part to help those guys as leaders.
Coach, I remember during preseason you were talking about the potential of the newer guys coming in, and how the newer guys have a season of college ball behind them.
Yeah.
What kind of growth have you seen in the newer players?
Well, first off, you look at, we have those three seniors. We have Amari and CB as juniors. But really, our two sophomores that start, and Renee Diop and Colin Tobert, those guys have taken huge strides this year. You got to look at it. Really, last year Colin only played about 10 games, and Renee had gotten a couple starts there late, but he's only been playing basketball 5 or 6 years. So those guys' development has been very, very paramount in our success this year. And then you talk about our bench guys. Like I said, Aiden Ince is a sophomore. Kind of playing a different position for him as a backup 5. He'd never played that position before, so I feel like he's developed. And then you look at our freshman at George's Archer and Bo Gigo. Bo is, even though he hasn't got as many minutes behind Aiden and Renee, he continues to develop. His practices have been phenomenal, which helps prepare Aiden and Renee for games. And then George's, I thought he played really, really well in our D&E game. We were kind of struggling to rebound the ball and just didn't have great energy. He came in and gave us that. And like I said, then you have two guys coming off your bench in Amari and CB that have played a ton of games and have a lot of experience. So that definitely helps. And those guys do a phenomenal job. And while we're talking about that, I want to give credit to our scout team. And I haven't really talked about these guys, but this is primarily redshirt freshmen that have come in, and our scout team, along with, like I said, Bo Gigo kind of helps in there, and Ethan Hott, as well as Akot Ager, who's a senior who has battled some injuries, but has kind of embraced that role. And I want to give those guys out by name. So you've got Goose Gabbard, you've got John Rose, you got Ethan Hott, you got Garrett Mitchell, like I said, Bo Gigo, Akot Ager, Corey Shoemate, Sam Booth. we don't have the success we have without those guys. Every week they have to learn 2 new offenses and defensive schemes that we're playing that week to help prepare our guys. So Tuesdays and Fridays, coach meets with them when we're doing our scouting and kind of gives them just the bare bones of what teams are going to try to do. And those guys have been phenomenal. It's kind of the part of the learning curve of college basketball. Yes, we're redshirting those guys and they're being our scout team and helping prepare us, but also you're learning what other teams are trying to do offensively, defensively, so hopefully that helps them moving forward in their career. But I did want to mention those guys because they do a phenomenal job for us in preparing our guys, and that's part of the whole program. Like it's, you know, all 19 guys that we have within our program, and including our 5 managers. RJ Klein graduated mid-season there, but we have 4 managers now. Everybody within our program has bought into their role and have maximized and done everything they can to help us be successful. So, you know, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that go into it, but I'm very, very appreciative and thankful to have these type of people around me that do their jobs at a high level every single day and allow us to have the success we do.